Good morning, church. We really appreciated the opportunity to go with my sister and her husband last week and take a cruise down the western coast of Mexico. Visited places like Cabo San Lucas and Puerto Vallarta. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful country. A lot of opportunity to eat too much food and to sleep a lot, which we did. But also one of the things we did on the cruise was a lot of walking. And when you're walking and you're out on the deck of the ship and the wind's blowing, you can't talk because you can't hear each other. And so it's a great opportunity to think. And I had prepared a lesson before I left on this passage, Matthew 11:28 through 30. But I had a whole week to chew on it because it was just kind of the passage I had in my head and on my heart at the time. And I realized last night that I had completely rewritten my sermon in my head over the past week, and that the outline that I had prepared wasn't what I wanted to preach at all. And so, what is going to come to you today is some thoughts I had as I was walking on the ship, but thinking about this passage. There's an interesting verb in Hebrew that is sometimes translated as meditate. Literally, it was used of a cow chewing its cud. And if you'll think about it, when we're meditating on something, we're chewing it over, aren't we? And we're chewing on it, we're chewing on it, we're chewing on it, and we're digesting it. And that's kind of what I was doing with this beautiful reassurance that Jesus gives us here in Matthew chapter 11. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened. Some translations are going to say heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am gentle, some translations meek, and humble or lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. How many of you, just show hands, how many of you are tired right now? Okay, I would say the vast majority of you are tired. If you ask my wife or I generally, how you doing? One of the first responses will be tired. It seems like the older you get, the tireder that you get, and the more that you need to rest. But listen, please, because boy, I was listening to Jesus as he says this. Come to me, all you who are weary. And the word there, weary, is a good translation of that word. I mean, you are wore out. Worn to a frazzle. Okay, you're just empty. That's it. You haven't got any more. That's the power of that word. And burdened, heavy laden. Sometimes it just feels like life just dumps on you, doesn't it? And you've just got a pack on your back that's just all you can carry. If another ounce hits it, you're going to go down. That's it. That's the force of burdened. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Now, right off the bat, I want you to think about something. He's not saying here, come to me and I'm going to put you to work. Come to me and I'm going to make you busy. He's saying, come to me when you are dead, dog, tired, wore out, flat out exhausted. When you just feel like you can't take another step, come to me and I'll give you some rest. And so this isn't a call to action. This is a call to comfort. This is a call to rest. Now, how do we find that rest in Him? He says, take my yoke upon you. Now, for a lot of people in this day and age, a yolk is the yellow part of an egg, right? I mean, that's generally, when you think of yolk, that's what comes to mind, it's the yellow part of an egg. A lot of people have no idea what a yolk is. And so, let me share with you a couple of pictures. That's an ox yoke right there. See that hoop, those hoops on either side? Oxen their heads will be thrust through those hoops, and then that beam across is going to rest on their shoulders. And they will pull. There you find a yoke of oxen. And so a yoke is a symbol of control, brothers and sisters. It's a symbol of control. When you take a yoke on you, someone is going to control you, direct your energies. All right? And it's important you keep that in mind in light of what Jesus is about to say. Now, I want to go back to the passage again. Take my yoke upon you. You see, the fact of the matter is that all of us have to make a choice about whose yoke is going to control us. Now, all of us are going to be controlled. All of us are going to wear a yoke. In the book of Romans, chapter 6, listen to what Paul writes, beginning in verse 16. Do you not know that if you present yourselves to anyone as obedient slaves, you are slaves of the one whom you obey, either of sin which leads to death, or of obedience which leads to righteousness? But thanks be to God that you who were once slaves of sin have become obedient from the heart to that standard of teaching to which you were committed, and having been set free from sin, have become slaves of righteousness. In other words, you have a choice of yokes, but you don't have any choice as to whether or not you're going to bear a yoke. You will bear a yoke. Either the Lord is going to control you, or the devil is going to control you. Now listen to him. If you want rest, whose yoke are you going to choose? If you want rest, it's his yoke that you need to choose. Take my yoke upon you. Allow me to direct and control your life. Why? Oh, let me add one thing to that, too. Very important. And learn from me. Now, for a long time, that one slid by me. And in that miles of walking on the deck, that's one of the phrases that really hit me and caused me to chew a lot. Learn from me. Learn from me. What can we learn from him that is going to give us rest? What can we learn from him that's going to encourage us as we take his yoke upon us? Well, I think he tells you, learn from me. Why? For I am gentle and humble in heart. Learn from and that word gentle can be translated again, meek, and I like that translation. And think about how Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount early on in the Beatitudes will say, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. I am meek. Learn from me. I'm meek. Now, what does meek mean? Meek means power under control. That's literally what it means. When I think of meek, one of the things I think about is a lioness. With one whack of her paw, she can kill an antelope. Boom, break its neck. And she'll slap her little cubs around and play with them. And what is that? That is power under control. I think about a cutting horse. Here's this magnificent animal, half a ton with a horse. And this horse, under control, can do amazing things in cutting out cattle, can it? Power. Power under control. Jesus exhibited, brothers and sisters, power under control. From the time he was baptized in the Jordan and the Spirit came upon him, he had power. Magnificent, amazing power. But it was power under control. When they came to arrest him in the garden, listen to him. I could have called, we sing that song, 10,000 angels. Do you understand, guys? I could wipe these people out in a second. I could take them. There is not a force on this earth that could seize me if I didn't want to be seized. They could take me if I didn't want to be taken. I am sacrificing myself. I am willingly going to die. I could exercise power that would blow your minds, but I'm not going to do it. Why? Power under control. Take my yoke. Learn from me. Power is granted to us to glorify God. Power is given to us to serve Him. Power is given to us to accomplish His will on this earth. Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done. That's why power is given to us. Learn from me. I had all this power. What did I do with this power? I used it to glorify the Father. Listen to His prayer in John 17. Father, I've glorified You. That's power under control. Learn from me. Don't be grasping for power and seeking power in order to control others and do this and do that. That's not what life's all about. That's not where rest comes. Learn from me. Learn from me. I'm meek and humble in heart, lowly in heart. He could have been born in a palace, couldn't he? He could have worn a diamond crown on his head, couldn't he? Could have set up headquarters in Rome or Ephesus or somewhere like that and ruled the world. But he didn't. John 13, at that last meal, who's down there with a pan of water washing feet? It's Jesus. And what's he asking? Do you understand what I'm doing? Do you get this, guys? Do you understand why I'm washing your feet? It's because I came to serve, not to be served. Don't you guys understand that the greatest among you is going to be the one who's servant of all? Don't you get that? Learn from me. I came to serve. Brothers and sisters, you find rest in service. You find meaning in life in service. You find wholeness in service. You find peace in service. You do. That's where you find it. Learn from me. Use the power that's been given to you to glorify the Father. Don't be seeking others serving you. Be willing to serve others, and you will find rest for your souls. And you will. My yoke is easy. My burden is light. Now, the world's going to try to lie to you and tell you that's not true. That his yoke's heavy. And that his burden will just break your back. I mean, you hear that constantly ad nauseum. Oh, you're a Christian. Bless your heart. Listen. World's going to lie and lie and lie and lie and lie, and that does not undo what's true. Okay? And brothers and sisters, I will guarantee you what is true is his yoke is easy and his burden is light. It is. If you give him control of your life, that's where you're going to find freedom. That is where you're going to find rest. That's where you're going to find meaning in your lives. Been reading a fascinating story based in fact about a 17-year-old. This kid's 17 years old, living in Italy. This is during World War II. The Germans are occupying Italy. And this young man's family is a very well-to-do family who lives in Milan, Italy. When the Allies begin to bomb Milan, this young man's mother and father demand that he leave the city and go up into the Alps and stay with a priest up there who has a school for boys way, way up in the mountains. Get him away from the city being bombed. They're scared to death he'll be killed. He doesn't want to go, but they send him and he goes up there. The priest up there begins to send this young man out every day with a pack on his back, and he'll tell him, okay, I want you to go climb up to that peak. I want you to walk across that ridge to that valley. And this is going a long, long ways, folks. I mean, it's climbing several miles out and back, and not explaining why, just saying, go do this, and then you can do your schoolwork when you get back, because he also expects him to do schoolwork. And so day after day after day after day after day, this young man goes out, comes back physically exhausted, does his schoolwork, with basically the priest saying, just trust me. Then, one day here comes a family. And the priest calls this young man in. And he says, Pino, I need you to guide this family across the mountains into Switzerland, because Switzerland is just a few kilometers away from where they live. These are Jewish families. The Germans are in the process of killing every Jew they come across. They're either sending them off to concentration camps or literally shooting them in the streets. And so these Jews are fleeing for their lives. And he finds out the reason that this priest has been sending him on these daily training missions is so that he can learn the best routes over the mountains to stay away from the roads and get these people safely into Switzerland, where they will be safe from German depredation. And so for months, on a regular basis, several times a week, this young man leads families through very, very difficult terrain and difficult circumstances to freedom in Switzerland, and saves lives and saves lives and saves lives. Now he was thinking, my burden is heavy. Why do I have to wear this lousy pack every day while he's training? Then he finds out, because he's going to have to carry all this equipment to help these people who don't know how to climb cliffs and who don't know how to get across very difficult terrain, to aid them in getting to freedom. And he finds rest, because he's saving lives. He's making a difference. And when eventually he has to return back home, he doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to go home. He doesn't want to go back to Milan. He wants to stay where he is because he's saving lives. But there's something else he needs to do. But as I was reading that, I was just thinking about the fact that so often people, oh, but God's yoke no, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. When you're serving me and you're making a difference, and you go to bed and you close your eyes at night and your conscience is clear and you've done what's right and you've striven that day to glorify God, a whole lot easier to sleep, isn't it? While I was on the ship, in the sauna. A couple of young men came in and they sat down there while I was in there, and they were talking back and forth. And obviously, the night before had been a very late one and a very alcohol-laden one, because they were both still hungover, and they were moaning about how hungover they were as they sat inside the sauna trying to sweat some of whatever it was out. And one of them was saying, man, I can't wait till next year. It's going to take me a year to pay off what I've lost gambling here, but next year I can't wait to come back and do it again. Yeah, just, okay. So this is fun, huh? Get drunk out of your mind, run up your credit card till you've maxed it out, and spend the next year paying off the credit card so you can come get drunk and max your credit card out again. My yoke's easy. My burden's light. World's trying to sell you a bill of goods, tell you that there are no consequences to sin, that if you go the way of sin, life's going to be grand, it's going to be wonderful, and everything's going to be fine. Man, please, just open your eyes and look around and see what a big fat lie that is. There is no truth to that at all. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened. I'll give you rest. Genuine, honest to goodness rest. Peace of mind. Okay? Take my yoke upon you. Learn from me. For I am gentle, meek, and lowly, humble in heart. And you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Brothers and sisters, that is beautifully, eternally true. We need to hear His words. We need to understand what a glorious thing it is to take His yoke upon us and find the freedom and the beauty in life that comes when His yoke is guiding us, when He is in control of our lives. If you're ready to take His yoke on you this morning, couldn't make a better choice than to allow Him to be in control. Not the devil, but the Lord. All the devil's going to do is send you on a crash course with misery. You just look around and see he's done that again and again and again. But you give your life to the Lord. You let Him guide your life, direct your life, and see the blessings that come with that. If you're ready to confess your belief in Jesus as the Son of God, put on your Lord in baptism. If there's any way that we can help you, won't you come while we stand and while we sing?
Have you been to Jesus for the cleansing power? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are you fully trusting in His graces now? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are you washed in the blood, in the soul cleansing blood of the Lamb? Are you garments spotless, are they white as snow? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are you walking daily by the Savior's side? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Do you rest each moment in the crucified? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are you washed in the blood, in the soul cleansing blood of the Lamb? Are you garments spotless, are they white as snow? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb?